I'm going to keep this brief. I had a PowerPoint slide for a 3-hour workshop, but I don't think this is the time for it. So I'll just give a bit of context or the background to the work I'm doing at the moment. So I am working on Galway's vision to become the European capital of culture. And what that generally entails is if you're awarded the designation, is running a full programme of cultural events and activities and projects for a 12-month duration. And it can be anywhere up to 200 or 300 projects throughout the year. So it's a very ambitious project. The total budgets range from city to city, but it's anywhere between like 30 and 60 million in terms of the overall budget. And it's an EU designation, and a major part of the cultural events themselves is the fact that it's a European event that happens in Galway. But integral to it is the ability to engage with audiences around Europe. And what's generally tend to happen is people use conventional digital means, and the experience of experiencing cultural events and activities, whether it's through live broadcasting online, it's generally a poor enough experience. And from looking at the cities over the last 20 years, what we saw was the other cities' approach to digital was fairly unambitious, and what they were doing was fairly unimaginative. So we came up with the concept midway through last year of the idea of running a fully virtual capital culture and what that might look like. So we went right back to the drawing board and we said, okay, what's the barriers to someone sitting in his bedroom in Poland being actually present at a live event in Galway? And then going beyond that and saying, okay, you can be present in live virtual reality 360 video, but going beyond that then, how can we have shared experiences? So we settled on this idea of doing a virtual capital culture. We done out a vision statement, half a page, wrote it down in our first phase of a book, and we've been working really hard over the last 4 months to transform that initial vision into 10 to 15 deliverable projects. And so that will be predominantly virtual in their nature. And so what we're looking at is, we started with a really open book, and we're looking at virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, old school holographic projections, news, HoloLens technologies, and we opened it up right across the board to all the art forms. So everything from film, animation, documentary, gaming, performance arts, visual arts. And we had two main motivations. So one of the ones I spoke about originally was the idea of empowering 500 million odd European citizens to actually experience, participate and connect with cultural events that happen in Ireland. And then the second motivation, which is potentially more exciting for us, is the use of these new mediums in an artistic context in their own right. So using the likes of virtual reality to tell stories in completely new ways and create entirely new experiences. So it's on the experimental end of it that we're particularly interested in, and combining our artist community with our technologists. So that's kind of a background to the motivations of how we arrived at here. So I might just talk a little bit about some of the aspects we're looking at. We can't go into specifics of the exact projects, but some of the things that we're looking at. So we're looking at the very first thing that made sense to us was the use of live 360-degree virtual reality broadcasting. So there's challenges with that at the moment, but we're working with some really interesting international partners in terms of trying to overcome those challenges, and by 2020 having it intertwined with our entire program. So with all these projects, we have the benefit of having a 4-year window, so we can have an ambitious vision. We can look beyond the technology barriers at the moment and kind of plan for the 4 years ahead. So another project we're looking at is a fairly ambitious one in creating a virtual reality storage studio. So this will involve Galway's animators, film community, documentary makers, working on creating content over the next 4 years. As well as inviting open calls to Europe-wide content creators. Another exciting one we're looking at is, so moving beyond virtual reality broadcasting, was the concept of shared virtual spaces. So we're looking at, if anyone knows the HNC technologies, the use of sensors in physical spaces, so mapping virtual worlds onto physical spaces, so essentially mapping out physical spaces like this on gaming engines. And with sensor technologies and avatars, the ability to move for spatial navigation within spaces. So it opens up a whole new level of immersion, and we're looking at the possibilities of essentially virtual teleportation, so you can have multiple people in the same virtual matched physical space in multiple locations, and the idea of having shared experiences in these linked locations. So the idea that perhaps it's say it's a square room like this, but there's a square room the exact same dimensions in Poland or Italy, and then that there might be a piece of performance art in the corner, but the idea is that you have audiences from multiple occasions able to experience the same performance live in the same scenario. And the beauty of this type of approach is that the physical environment becomes just a canvas for all sorts of experiences. So whether it's a gaming environment, whether it's mixed reality theatre, whether it's a really simple piece of visual art, so it's really developing these canvases and looking beyond static frames and screens and laptops, these poor performances, and seeing new ways of experiencing culture. So that's another really exciting project we're working on. We have an experimental project. It's a mixture between artists and academic community, and some really interesting international academic partners looking at the social effects of virtual reality. So things like the effects of identity swaps in virtual reality, the idea of taking on another person's body, the empathy-inducing nature of actually immersing yourself in the story or life of another. What other stuff in those regards? There's a long list of kind of interesting experiments, but it's a partnership between artists who are creating kind of micro experiments along with the academic community, and it's the idea of that was that we'd run a number of them over the next 4 years with an exhibition of work in 2020. Some of the other ones we're looking at is the use of holoportation technology. So we're hoping to work closely with Microsoft and their new HoloLens technologies to get early developer status for a number of developers in Galway. And the idea, so the whole idea with what we're trying to do is allow audiences around Europe to participate in cultural events that happen either here or remotely. So we initially started a very basic vision with a holographic projection, so that performances happening in Galway will be projected using holographic projections in multiple locations on streetscapes around Europe. But that technology seems to be overtaken now by Microsoft's new HoloLens technology. So we're looking at the use of that to have real-time holoportation. So there'd be an example where, say, they had a dance performance here or in Dublin, which is scanned again in real time. It's modelled, it's packaged, and then it's essentially presented in a separate room. And that opens up whole new possibilities for kind of this idea of simultaneous performances in multiple locations. So with everything we're doing, that's the kind of driving motivation. So hopefully people get a kind of an idea of what we're trying to achieve. We're also looking at setting up a broadcasting futures kind of R&D team for the next 4 years, with a mixture between national and international, I suppose, commercial and academic partners. And this is looking at everything from conventional crowdsourced citizen broadcasting like Periscope to the virtual reality spectrum. So it's kind of it's undefined outcomes as now, but we're putting together a really exciting team for that project. So let me see. I won't go through all of them. I just wanted to give people an idea of what we're doing in Galway. At the very outset, when we started this process, it was a really tedious process in Galway, like connecting the nodes of people who first of all knew about this stuff, then meeting the likes of James, who's already passionate about it, and then working with people who have the competencies and skills to deliver these projects. So to give you an idea, the unfortunate thing with tonight is that our deadline for our bid is the end of the month. But the good thing is, for the bid we got forward 40 projects in total, but if we are successful in our bid, the whole bid opens up again. So in 2020 there can be anywhere up to 200 or 300 projects eventually delivered. So hopefully some people in this room and the skills and expertise you have can hopefully help us in delivering that. And one thing I didn't mention, with the European Catholic culture, usually what happens is, it's in 2020, it feels like a long way away, and with most of the cultural events that happen in 2020, but because this project, there's an existing gaming, tech, art community in Galway, but there's a massive requirement for capacity building over the next 4 years. And so the good thing about what we're trying to do is we're hoping to start in the Q1 in 2017, and it's going to be a multi-annual capacity building program, so there'll be pilots happening from 2017, 2018, 2019, so we don't have to wait impatiently until 2020. So hopefully I've given a bit of background on what we're doing. It's a bit of a quick fire introduction to it, but if anyone wants to ask any questions from me or find out more about what we're doing, I'll be around for the rest of the evening.